those little ones. All right, so we're ready. Continuing in our service. Wait a minute. Oh, that is on. Continuing in our series, but let me first tell you about my little humor here. A woman was driving down the street in a panic. She had an important meeting and couldn't find a parking place. Have you been there? Circling the block, you know? She circled the block a few times, and finally she looked up toward heaven and said, "Lord, take pity on me. If you find me a parking place, I'll go to church every Sunday for the rest of my life and give up drinking wine." That's a big commitment. Whoa, can I get a whoa? Miraculously, a parking place opened up right in front of her destination. And the woman looked up to heaven again and said, "Never mind, God, I found one." Manifestation. We're talking about manifestation. Sculpt a prosperous life, your divine plan for abundance. And today we're talking about writing our dreams. We've been on this journey on our series, and we talked about what's your statue of limitation. What have you chiseled into a rock-hard belief that maybe isn't serving your life in the best way possible? We talked about desire, how all desire is of the Father and that it's right, and learning to allow that desire to come into you and be expressed through you is important. And then we talked about clearing a way for your dreams to come into reality by releasing all the unneeded stuff and making room for spirit to move in and through your lives, like a medicine in your vein and a tattoo in your brain. I just love that. It was a really weird song, but you know, those words just jumped out at me. And today we're talking about writing down your dreams. I don't like to use the word down, writing out your dreams, you know. You've heard for years, write your goals. And how many of you, every year New Year's, you write something down? We do the burning bowl service so that you can affirm what you want to see in your life for the new year, and we ask you to write that out. So I've always been surprised when I take time to actually write down my goals, how quickly they manifest. Some do and some don't, right? You've experienced that? Even if I write it casually on a piece of paper and take a minute of focused thought and then write out what I want and stash it somewhere where I can just let go and let God, I forget about it. I'm amazed when it drops into my life. And some people were taught a long time ago, write a letter to God and put it in the Bible. All of that is a good, some kind of practice. As we're building our consciousness for greater wealth and well-being, we're sharing these spiritual practices to help us fulfill our dreams, right? Letting go, release, affirming, chiseling, getting rid of those chiseled rock-hard beliefs as we talked about. And you may start out small, trying some of the recommended spiritual principles we're talking about here every week and proving them for yourself. They're all really quite simple. The reality is, the actuality is, you have to apply them. You have to do them. You have to try them and then prove them for yourself. As I've used these principles when I've been concerned about something, I've used them and they've worked out. Things have worked out, and that builds my faith. Often when I use them, they work out in surprising and miraculous ways. I was driving up and I should have thought I have a piece of paper where I've written out my next hole in one on the golf course. But I actually walk the course in my mind. And I know, I've played it so often, I know what every hole looks like. So I drew on a little piece of paper about this size the first hole, and I drew a little arrow with the ball going to the flag and landing on the green and rolling in. And then on the second hole, I know what that, I can't get it on the second hole because it's 500 yards and I don't hit that far. So skip number 2. I went to number 3, which is kind of a whoop, boop, and then it has to land on the green. And so I did the little arrows and landing in the hole. I drew a little flag and boop. And then the fourth hole is over 2 huge sand traps. And I just went pop up over those and poof, right into the hole. You get my drift. So I did that all 18 holes, the ones that I know I can drive the distance to get the hole in one. And I put it on the side of my kitchen counter where I tend to stack things up. And yesterday or the day before, I found it, pulled it out because other stuff, my Costco newsletter and things got stacked on top of it. And I went, oh, I need to look at this more often to build this into my consciousness. So stay tuned because I've written it down. and I've let it go, I forgot about it, and then I'm trying to imprint it in my consciousness. So, why is writing down our goals so important? Putting pen to paper is so very powerful because the moment the ink flows out of the pen or the marker or whatever you're using, the paintbrush, whatever it is, the moment you make a physical mark of your idea in the manifest realm, you're moving it, you're moving invisible divine substance into physical, visible form in the reality of your word. Your word. I have a slide for that, Jesse. I think you're moving divine substance from its invisible, unformed, shimmering essence into physical matter. And this is often the very first place that your dream shows up in the real world, is as a written word. You know, we have spoken word, which is next Sunday's lesson, but today we're talking about giving concrete expression to your dream in the form of a written word. So you're moving divine substance from its pure, invisible substance. I love this slide, just not that God's out there or up there. It could go this way, you know, but you're moving invisible substance into solid form. You're moving your dream from the mental, invisible, spiritual realm into visible, physical manifestation. Are you with me? The ink's flowing right out of the pen. And it's often the first place your dream appears in the physical world is as the written word. Your written word is often the first place. See that pen and that ink flowing out? This word that's on that piece of paper is the first place your desire shows up in the external world. It's really a quite profound thought when you think about it. That's why writing your goals is so important. I intend to express perfect health. You know, you're writing it out. You're drawing down on the substance of God. The spoken word gives voice to your dream, but it's still in the invisible. It's out there in the ethers, floating around. It has power, but it's still in the invisible. When you write your goals down, when you write your dreams, things begin to happen. When you write them down, the natural forces are set in motion within you and within the environment. Writing your goals with your hand is one of the most concrete ways to start them manifesting because your mind is directly connected to your body, and recording your goals on paper physically anchors them not only in the invisible in your subconscious and in the physiology of your body. So there's a vibration that comes alive in you when you write that word down. You put yourself in alignment with the universal truth that we find in Corinthians. Is that the right one? Writing your goals, back up one, please. Writing your stop. Writing your goals is the most concrete way to start manifesting them because your mind is directly connected to your body, and recording your dreams anchors them in your body. You become them. It's not that you're trying to get them or release them or whatever. You become your dream. I become my hole-in-one on the golf course. I just am it. I become it. Now, this is, you put yourself in alignment with Corinthians, which is the next slide. It's a beautiful scripture that reminds us, fix your eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. That's 2 Corinthians. We can fix our eyes on the ficus here. It's seen, but it's not eternal. Rust and dust and moth can consume that physicality of that, right? But what created a ficus tree, the idea that created the ficus, the idea that somebody got, let's have an artificial plant. So I can't keep plants alive, but if I had an artificial one, it would look beautiful. Somebody created that. That idea is eternal. So we want to think about your dream and fix your eyes not on what is already seen, already manifest, but on what is unseen, and anchor it with a written word. Catherine Ponder, who wrote so many wonderful books on prosperity, says, when you get definite about prosperity, prosperity gets definite about you. I love that. When you get definite about the goals in your life, about what you're trying to achieve, it gets definite about you. When I put that little sketch of the golf course holes, 18 holes off to the side of my kitchen, I'm not carrying it with me. I'm not thinking about it so much. And there's something to release, but there's also something to working with your dream enough that it takes hold in you. It comes through you, but it can just whoop, pass out. But you've got to anchor it inside you. Catherine Ponder also says this: don't let yourself drift. Don't let yourself drift. That wishy-washy, half-hearted dreams bring wishy-washy, vague results. You have to be definite in declaring what you want to see for your life, the reality that you want to, the vibration that you want to bring into expression. If you just drift along without a definite purpose, you're subject to random circumstances and can become subject to dominant personalities. You know, we've all seen those marriages on TV where the woman is just this subservient little in this relationship, and she's got a dominant personality, or maybe it's the woman is some big corporate executive and she's wielding power everywhere she goes. You know, you have to be definite and assured about what you want and what's possible for you, because everything is possible for you. Desire is a tremendous vibratory force, then it has to be directed rightly, right? Remember, we talked about all desire is from God. Well, what if I desire my neighbor's wife, right? Is that a true desire, you know? And we talked about that last week. You may desire what you see in that marriage, the love, the companionship, the respect, the tenderness, the kindness, whatever. You may want that. It's right to want that. But if it's expressing as your neighbor's wife, you can just claim for yourself the qualities that you want in your life, right? Desire is a tremendous vibratory force and must be directed rightly. Written words have attracting and shaping power. Charles Fillmore talked about the divine substance of God, and he talked about it as a clay that you could mold with your word and shape it into the very thing that you want to see in your life. At Unity Village, there's a room, I can't remember what the room is called, but around the perimeter, around the whole top of the room, there are 10 lighted panels with Charles Fillmore's most loved, best used affirmations. And so you can go in and you can stand in the center of that room, which is really interesting, and you can speak. And there's something about the acoustics of the room that your voice goes up and echoes back to you. So you can turn and read those 10 affirmations in the center of the room, and they're echoing back to you like a rain shower coming down on you. It's really fun and fascinating. I can't remember what the 10 are. 10 Shining Words, I think it's called. It's published on the Unity website somewhere. I know one is Christ in You, the Hope of Glory. I know that one. Anyway, desire is a tremendous vibratory force, and it has to be directed correctly. Your written word is an energy that attracts shaping power, attracts it to you. And the word then plants itself in you like a seed. Divine substance is a seed that plants inside of you, and it'll open up avenues over which that substance can grow and come into your life. Here's how it worked for me. I told you this story before, but it really was the event in my life that confirmed for me the power of the written word. And that was, I wanted to reach, when I was developing my website, you know, that's all new and foreign to me, technology and all of that. And I decided I wanted to reach a larger audience. So I began to research various marketing possibilities and just spoke a word, you know, began to look at possibilities because I know faith without works is dead. So I had to move my feet to grow my site. And within days, out of the blue, I received an email from a researcher from the television network Showtime. And they were asked if I'd be interested in filming a documentary on Prosperity's 7 Deadly Sins. They were looking for a minister for each, they were going to do 7 episodes, and they were looking for ministers to talk about whichever deadly sin. And I thought, well, this would be great publicity for me to grow my website. So I was really hoping that I'd be chosen for the documentary. And I interviewed with the producers over the telephone and via email for seemed like months, 2 or 3 months. And they were deciding on whether to do the documentary or not do it. And they had film crews that were working on other productions, and they could never just get from New York to Nashville to do the filming. And I really thought this would be good publicity for me. And I told the board about it, and they were split. Half of them were, yeah, you should do this, and no, you shouldn't do this. So I did it. I mean, I signed up for it. But anyway, I kept in communication with the producer, but nothing was happening. A couple months went by. And finally, one day when I was leaving for work, leaving to go down to the church, the voice that I've come to know as God speaking in me profoundly said, Cherie, write down your goal. Just the voice came in me. It said, write down what you want. Write down what you want. And I was in a hurry to get to the church. I went out, I got my car, drove to the church, got out of the car, went into my office, and the voice is saying, write down what you want. It keeps going, keeps going. So I took a Post-it note like this, and I wrote, I'm chosen to do the documentary. And I put it on the screen of my computer, and my desk was like this, and my computer screen was there, so I could look over at it every once in a while. And I don't know if it was that day or a day later, might have been 2 days later, the producer called and said I'd been chosen to be a part of the documentary. And they sent a crew of 12 people from New York City to walk around and follow me 8 hours a day for 3 days in a row. It's like filming a reality TV show of a minister who practices prosperity. It was weird. It was just weird. I was telling Jesse, the sound tech on the crew and I became best of friends because they had to mic me up every day, And they came into my house, and they bring all their Starbucks coffee and all their stuff, and they're working in there, and they set my house as a stage, as a set, and then it was so interesting because at the end of the day, they have a person that's just in charge of the set. They take a picture of how my house is, and at the end of the day, they moved the furniture out and everything. They put everything back in place exactly as it was, and picked up all their stuff and went out every day, 3 days, in the house, out. And then they filmed me on the golf course. They filmed me doing different things. I had a prosperity class going on, and so they came and filmed that. And they filmed a Sunday service also. It was really interesting. But I grabbed that Post-it note and wrote down, I'm chosen for the documentary. And it wasn't exactly what I'd hoped for. I kept asking the film producer, you're not going to sell me down the river on this, are you? Because it was, what's his name, Morgan Spurlock or whatever, that guy? And they tend to do sensational stuff, And the board was worried about that. It would be sensationalized. And I thought, no, and they came and filmed, and I was true to my message. I was true to the message about, true to my message. And my episode was on greed. I had to talk about the sin of greed. And I always say all press is good press, just spell my name right, right? Anyway, I was on message to spiritual principles of gratitude and trusting and in my message, but the executive producer ended up editing it to reflect his own storyline. So it didn't turn out exactly like I hoped it would, plus they put it with a little trilogy of 3 episodes of things. So one of the episodes was sugar daddies and young girls and sugar daddies. They called it sugar babies. And then there was 7 deadly sins, and then there was something else. So I was wedged between it was big game hunters that kill all these animals. So I was wedged between sugar daddies and big game hunters, my little episode. And I just kind of went, ah. Anyway, all press is good press, just spell my name right. So you've heard for years, write down your goals, but it seems too simple. But most importantly, that confirmed for me, I have this, the power of the written word. Write down what you hear, Cherie. And it confirmed the power of the written word to bring my dream into manifestation. Because I heard the voice of God saying, this has been going on for 2 or 3 months. Write down what you want, Cherie. Write down what you want. And literally, when I wrote on that Post-it note, I could, for the first time in my life, feel an elixir of spirit, some kind of energetic flow that was like tangible, invisible stuff coming out of the ink in the pen as I wrote those simple words. And then I stuck it on my computer, and within days, I was chosen for the documentary. So you've heard write down your goals for years, and it seems too simple, but the minute I wrote mine, I was chosen, and it was very confirming for me. The ink was flowing out of the paper, and it was like, as I said, an elixir of spirit, flowing directly from the invisible realm into visible form as words, just words. So this week I want to tell you another little principle practice that I use is to get yourself what I call a God box. A God box is just a box, decorative box or something. And when you write out your goals, date them, and put them inside the God box and just let it be there. Let it be there. You can walk by it, you can look at it, but you let go and let God. You've written it down, you know. In getting ready for this message, I went to my God box. It's in my bookcase at home. And I opened it up because I hadn't looked at it in a long time. And I had some stuff in there from 2016. It's really fun to look back and think what was important to me in terms of expressing in 2016, which is now 10 years ago. And I looked at some things, and some things had manifested. Other things, like Garth Brooks' song, Unanswered Prayers Are Sometimes a Blessing. You know, I had some unanswered prayers in there that really were a blessing. But it's a wonderful way to see God work in your life over time. So get yourself what I call a God box. It's just any kind of decorative box. It can be a little thing or a big thing. Write out your goals, your dreams, and date them, and put it in there. So the human mind is a dynamic, brilliant, powerful, influential part of our being. And it should be used with abandon. We should just be able to name our life into expression and then live it into expression. One of the most dynamic verses in the Bible is the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And nothing was created in the world that wasn't created by the Word of God, right? God said, let there be light, and there was light. Let there be firmament in the earth, and there was firmament in the earth. Let the waters part. God is speaking the world into creation. We're created in the image and likeness of God, so we speak our world into creation. The words that we use are really powerful. Florence Scovel Shinn, who's another great Unity author, says, in The Game of Life and How to Play It, I have a slide for this, there is nothing too great to achieve for the one who knows the power of the Word. By the Word, we start forces into action, unseen forces into action. And I thought the guy at the end of the ladder, I just thought that was a great little, speak your word and then let it release out to the universe. And let those forces begin to shift and shape and bring things into your life that are surprisingly great, surprisingly good fortune that can follow you. It's really important when you write your words to choose the right words. So carefully select what you wish to draw out of the invisible substance of God and have it take shape in your life. You may say, I'm going to write down, I want to be debt-free. Sounds good, right? But the universe may just give you a lot of debt to be free from, right? So you want to select your words carefully. It's better to say, I have all the resources I need to live an abundant life. And then you'll have all the resources that you need to live an abundant life. Choose the right words carefully. Select what you wish to draw out of the invisible. Speak the word, and then don't do anything until you get a definite lead. That's, again, Florence Scovel Shinn. You can ask the infinite intelligence if there's anything you need to do. You can write down, and I love the little kids asking excitedly, right? Write down what it is you want, and then ask Spirit, if there's anything I'm supposed to do, please guide me or lead me in that direction. And so often, the surprising miracles of God in my life have been, I've been moving almost what seems like unconsciously in the direction of everything unfolding step by step by step, but in the middle of it, I couldn't see it. You know, I couldn't see it. I shared with you the time my uncle passed away, or my uncle got sick. No, my Aunt Mary passed away, And I sent Uncle Joe a sympathy card, and then he called me on the telephone, and we had a nice visit. He lived in Illinois. I was in California, East Moline, Illinois, a little tiny dollhouse that they'd created and built. So I started a conversation with him, and then one day, and then I sent him a note, and I typed in real big font, Uncle Joe, here's my phone number, and here's my name. So one day I got a call from Uncle Joe's neighbor, and the son of the neighbor, and he said, you don't know me, but my mother is Uncle Joe's neighbor, and I'm helping Uncle Joe. We watch every day to see he comes out and takes the paper off the porch and shuts the porch light off, and we know he's okay. But he hadn't done that for a few days, so my mom called me, and I went over to check on him. He's fine, but I'm just helping him shave, and he loves 7-Up, and I bought some 7-Up for him and all of that. And so I thought, okay, good. And so then every once in a while, not very often, once a month maybe, I'd call Uncle Joe, and he's really hard of hearing, so you had to scream into the phone to talk to him, and all of that. And then one day, this neighbor called me and said, Uncle Joe passed away. Okay, so unknown to me, my phone calls and cards to Uncle Joe meant so much to him, he went down and made me the executrix of his estate and left me a 6-figure estate inheritance because I was kind to him. I mean, I met Uncle Joe in person 3 times in my life. So I didn't know in the midst of just living in kindness and love that I would reap the benefits of loving someone, of being kind to someone. So all that to say, when you're in the middle of something, you write out your goal, and then you just live your life and do what you're supposed to do, and you'll get to a certain point on the path, and everything just, the seas part, the world opens up for you. And that inheritance came right when I had applied to ministerial school and was wondering, how am I going to finance 3 years at Unity Village without working, And then Spirit just provides, as if that had been set in motion from the beginning. It felt like my mom and dad and Uncle Joe were just showering me with my ministerial tuition from heaven. And I think I'd probably written down somewhere, I'm going to ministerial school. But you can't see how the puzzle pieces fit together. But you get to the outcome, and you look back, and you see that you were guided every step of the way. That's that. Be still and know that I am God. That's sitting in meditation and prayer and allowing, it seems like nothing's happening, but you're allowing that elixir of Spirit to be medicine in your vein and a tattoo in your brain, right? That's the word for today. So you can ask if there's anything you need to do and listen and be guided, but mostly just live from the truth of who you are. The answer, if you're supposed to do something, will come through you as an intuition, a hunch, a chance remark. You'll hear a song on the radio, the title of a book. You'll pick something up. Someone will call and say something, and you'll be guided to take action. When we're affirming something for our lives, we can follow the long, hard road of conscious reasoning. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to build this. We've been taught to be responsible and to do that, to make things happen, right? But if we can allow the superconscious mind of God to participate with us, to partner with us, I think our outcomes will tend to be much better. And all you have to do to have that partnership is just get still. Not hours and 40 years in a cave like a guru person sitting in the lotus position, but just occasionally stopping and affirming your next hole-in-one. And then allowing those few seconds of Spirit to move in and through you. It's not laborious. God's gift to us is power and dominion over all created things, over our mind, our body, and affairs. And this power is within us. And by our word, it's how we contact it, through thought and word and feeling. Jesse, I have a slide for that one. We connect with it, and then quickly, seemingly impossible changes take place, and the doors open where there didn't seem to be any way for things to happen. We know, after spending the amount of time we have spent in unity, that this next slide is really, really true. The universe is engineered to bring you what you think about most of the time. Most of the time. Not, I'm thinking about my next hole-in-one, but gosh, I haven't been out there to practice or do any of that. But I'd like to get a hole-in-one, but I've been lifting weights to strengthen my arm. I don't know how that's going to happen. And I don't hit that distance anymore. No, what you think about most of the time. I'm ready for my second hole-in-one. Actually, I've written down my second, third, and fourth hole-in-one. I have a friend that I golf with, and she's had 5. 5. And the odds of a hole-in-one are 12,500 to 1. But see, you can't think about that. You just think about my hole-in-one, right? So the universe is engineered to bring you what you think about most of the time. I'd put that little piece of paper on the side of my kitchen counter and forgotten about it. So what's the difference between forgetting about it and releasing it over to God? I think it floated back up to the top of my life to let me know I needed to give it a little bit of prayer attention, right? And then I can push it, not push it, but set it aside for a little while and let God work. So the universe is engineered to bring us what we think about most of the time. And your results can be accelerated by writing down what you want. So, a couple of points to close here. To work with this God power, this divine substance that's in us, you want to still your mind, get still wherever you have a prayer chair or at your kitchen table. You know that painting of that white-haired man that's sitting at the kitchen table bowing his head in prayer? I can't think of the name of it. It's a really famous painting. It's like at the breakfast table. Anyway, he's just there. And when you look at that picture, you can just see that moment of stillness. So you want to have that moment of stillness, however that works for you. And then write out your desire. Get an intention and write it down. And trust that the infinite intelligence of Spirit knows the way to fulfill it. Philippians 4:19 says, the Spirit of God knows your needs and is even now fulfilling them according to the riches and glory in Christ Jesus. Trust. And then give Spirit the right of way. If you feel guided to do something but it seems funny, go ahead and do that. I do that when I buy my lottery tickets. I don't know if you guys buy lottery tickets, but I'll be driving along and I think, oh, I need a lottery ticket. And I think, oh, I'm too busy to stop and get it. And I'm going, is that your voice, God, telling me to stop in and get my lottery ticket? So you have to trust that infinite intelligence knows the way. And then give Spirit the right of way. And then go easy. If you're really getting in there and laboring to make it happen, and I've got to, I got to make this happen, that constricts the flow of God's love. Not that that can ever be blocked, but if you're making effort toward your goal, ease and play and recreation and releasing opens a wider berth for Spirit to move in and through you, rather than hard work and straining. And then keep the faith. Some of the things we write down take years to manifest, but they come at the perfect time in exactly the right way, don't they? If you've asked for it, it will be given, or some other equivalent good will come to you. Writing down your desires adds another layer of reinforcement, and it solidifies the positive thoughts in your mind. Then they can't just wander off. I can picture that 18-hole little diagram that I've drawn, and that's all I have to do. I don't have to sit and pray for 2 hours about my next hole-in-one. I've written it down, and I can picture that little diagram that I've written down, and just a few seconds on that. It's easy and it's fun. I love to golf. I put a lot of energy and love behind my request, my prayer, and let that be. After a while, you'll prove the power of writing down your goals. If you do it on your own, especially if you date them, that's kind of a fun thing to do. I want you to add, let's see, what is this? Writing down your desires adds another layer of reinforcement and solidifies the positive thoughts. This blue is hard to see. It says, dream until it's your reality. That's what the blueprint says. Dream until it's your reality. Just keep that circulation of Spirit in you, in you, in you. And keep affirming and stay positive and let the universe work its magic in and through you. So I have a couple of affirmations that we can close with. There's samples of things that you can write down when we talk about select the right words, and I have those up for us at close. I focus on what I love and thus draw it to me. You can say, I focus on whatever it is you love. I focus on good health and well-being and draw it to me. You can write that down, and I love the love word is in an energy. And the next one is a good one. My health, strength, and energy and stamina increase with every step I take. And then when you find yourself out walking in your garden or walking to your car in the parking lot, you can call this to mind. My health, strength, and energy and stamina increase with every step I take. You commit them to memory. I call them your quick speak inventory of affirmations that tattoo in your brain and release the elixir of spirit in your veins. The last one, I think, is, I love this one. All financial doors are open, all financial channels are free, and endless bounty now comes to me. And I love the etherealness of the door is open, and it's the etherealness of spirit flowing in and through your life. So you can memorize those, you can practice those, you can create your own, but write them down and put them in your newfound God box for the week, for all time. So let's take these ideas into prayer this morning. We've had statute of limitations. All desire is from the Father. So your desire is right. Take my desire and place it where it can find fulfillment. I let go and let God be God in me and to lead me and guide me. And now I'm going to write down what I want and just watch Spirit manifest it quickly and beautifully. So let's take that into a time of prayer. So this week, maybe you received your year-end giving letter for tax purposes. That's something to pray about. The financial resources that you've supported the ministry with this year. And in that, we said, there's a prayer request you can give to us, and we're going to hold you in prayer for the next 30 days. Only we forgot to put the little prayer request slips in. So they're at the back of the room by our prayer box, little blue slips. If you have something specific, this would be a good Sunday to write it down and put it in the prayer box. And know that true to our word, in the giving letters that we sent you, the gratitude for your giving that we sent you, we are holding you in prayer for the next 30 days, opening the way for the fulfillment of your heart in whatever is important to you. Because the Spirit of God knows your needs and is even now fulfilling them according to the riches and glory of Christ Jesus. Not according to the lack, poverty, and fear, but the riches and glory of Christ Jesus. So take a moment now and in this loving awareness of the unity of Father. Take a moment to be still and know. Pray in faith and love. Let my words be your words this morning. Christ in me is my source of unlimited potential. Christ in me is my source of unlimited potential. United with that source now, I create my world.